The first non-kids movie that really made me laugh was Airplane. Like, I was obsessed with that film as a kid and all the way into adulthood, really. I love a clever farce. Like, not necessarily classic farces of misunderstanding like Three's Company. Those always seem kind of cringy to me. I like the ones that dealt in absurdity, maybe something closer to a spoof. Get Smart, Police Squad, Airplane, Top Secret, Hot Shots, Naked Gun, like all of that right into the veins. In fact, about 7 or 8 years ago, Steve and Nancy Carell created a TV comedy starring Rashida Jones called Angie Tribeca, which was a straight reboot of this era of absurdist farcery. And honestly, that show was really good, but I don't think anyone saw it. I think it was just not of the time and it didn't last very long. Trying to pinpoint what made these shows so fun, though, is tough. Obviously, the wordplay, a hospital, what is it? It's a large building with patients, but that's not important right now. Also, there's the rapid fire jokes and the deadpan delivery. For these types of shows, the actors have to play it like they're in the most serious drama that ever dramaed. Above all, though, these absurd farces have to be meta. Not in a self-referential recursive function sort of way, but in a genre-reflexive way, winking at the audience that we, the storytellers, know what you know. Welcome to our inside joke. It's the spoof angle that gives these comedies their extra kick. Airplane plays constantly around the disaster film tropes and even the disco movie tropes. And it's no wonder that by the 1990s, movies like Pulp Fiction and Scream were leaving the comedy genre behind, but still heavily dousing their narratives with genre references. The characters live in the same world as us. They've seen the same movies. They know all the tricks, the devices, the cliches, and most importantly, the rules. Of course, in 1985, we had already had our airplane disaster spoof, our crime detective spoof, our spy thriller spoof, even our slasher spoof in Saturday the 14th. But what about a zombie spoof? The Return of the Living Dead was created by John Russo, who co-created Night of the Living Dead with George A. Romero. And within 5 minutes of this 1985 comedy, his characters are already referencing the rules of zombies from the original Night of the Living Dead film. What follows isn't quite a farce or even a spoof, more of a hyperactive send-up, though the repeated jokes about the EMTs and cops being radioed to their deaths is borderline Zucker Abrams and Zucker hilarity. Plus, it's not an 80s comedy if there aren't titties and a bitchin' soundtrack. Hi, Cecil.
Hi, Jeffrey.
What is your favorite line or part or bit from Airplane?
Um, I mean, uh, I think the fact that he has a drinking problem, like that was, I don't know what, that was the funniest thing I'd ever seen.
He just keeps splashing orange juice
Yeah.
on his face.
And I think I remember vaguely after seeing that movie as a kid, trying to do that bit at the dinner table and my parents getting very upset with me.
As a sports fan, I always have a soft spot in my heart for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar being in the
Oh my
movie.
God. Yes.
It is really funny, pretending to be Roger Murdoch. But honestly, like the line that lives in my head rent free is, "I picked the wrong week to stop sniffing glue," or just, "I picked the wrong week to quit drinking. I picked the wrong week to quit
Yeah.
sniffing glue," et cetera, et cetera.
Runner up to the loading zone is for the white zone is for loading and unloading only. And then the two zone announcers get into a marital argument.
Yes. God, it's so stupid. Yeah, love it, love it, love it, love it. I went into this movie not knowing much about the film other than it is sort of related to, or it's very related to Night of the Living Dead because John
Sure.
Russo and George A. Romero, who I don't know much about their relationship after Night of the Living Dead, but I know that George Romero retained anything of the dead and John Russo retained anything living dead.
Yes.
And George Romero, while his movies are funny at times, went more with the splattery blood and gore and goo and action of the what was happening. Well, John Russo is like, this shit is going to be funny as hell.
Well, I think the Romero films are they're kind of bleak.
Yeah,
You know, like Day of the Dead, like that is some it's just about people trapped in a mall living out their capitalist fantasy forever.
Yeah.
Dawn of the Dead, the military complex taking over everything and just sort of smashing anything, scientific or humane.
Hmm.
Return of the Living Dead, we just want to party.
We just want to party. Although this movie has a really bleak, like political ending too.
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing is that it is so funny. And then like the sort of we got to this by rolling conspiracy, and I was like, is this the right move? Sure, why not? It's our podcast. We can do what we want. But it does have that kind of twinge of like late 20th century. Do you really know what your government's getting up to?
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, it really does. Can you trust the government?
Yeah.
Because they are a combination of evil and incompetent, basically,
Hmm.
is basically it. Well, let's talk about this movie. It starts with a title card that I find really funny.
I love it.
The events portrayed in this film are all true. The names are real names of real people and real organizations.
And especially when their names are like Trash, Spider, Scuzz. Real names, y'all.
It's so good. And what is the name of the chemical? Oh, the Darrow Chemical Company, not Dow Chemical.
Yes.
The
No,
Darrow
no.
Chemical Company.
Uh-huh. So close.
And also the names are real names of real people and real organizations. Cut to the exterior of Unita Medical Supply.
I know, right?
Stupid. So
I
good.
love it. I love it. I also, it's the specificity of like on this time, on this date, like this
Mhm.
is some sort of like historical documentary, for future reference, and then just keeping to that throughout the like, as we jump from place to place. It's
Yeah.
very John Carpenter influenced. And I was kind of thinking about the sort of this era of the unwashed masses
Uh-huh.
being like one of the scariest things for the 1980s. So like, I don't know, I think I'd recently just watched like Assault on Precinct 13 and just how much this was terrifying people of the 80s of like just like what if all these unwashed, dirty, non-people just rose up and attacked?
Yeah, I think it's hard to find any generation that wasn't afraid of like wandering gangs of blank,
Yeah,
wandering Jews, wandering Romani, wandering
sure.
punk kids, wandering
Yeah.
gangs, wandering migrants, that these are the people that are out to get us, and this is a movie where the wandering gangs are straight up just brain-eating zombies.
Yeah.
But we do the first like in a couple scenes from now, we're gonna see our gang of kids of punk mall rat types.
Yeah. Punk, new wave, I don't know, very, very John Hughes.
Yes,
Like we're gonna get one of each.
yeah, angsty, bordering on nihilistic, but
Yeah.
not quite nihilistic because they're still kids, and yeah, but full of potential for violence.
Oh,
And
yes.
well, all right, at Unita Medical Supply,
Uh-huh.
we have Frank, who's kind of the factory or the warehouse manager of this medical supply place that they provide, medical supplies, including
Sure.
skeletons for
Yeah.
people. And he's training this new kid, Freddie, who's teen, kind of jock-ish, big, handsome, tall, corn-fed boy.
Yeah.
This all takes place in Louisville, Kentucky. And he's showing him the inventory. We get these skeletons. Where do the skeletons come from? And he's telling like these weird tall tales, like there must be a skeleton farm in India.
Sure. With
Sure,
perfect teeth.
with perfect teeth. They have split dogs, which
I love
is
it.
a half dog that's sliced like nose to tail, so you can see the cross section for vet training to
I think if
see
I were
the
ever to start
anatomy.
a band, it might be called Split Dogs.
God damn it! I gotta get the band names sheet back up.
Yep. Yep. Bring that back.
They also have cadavers, which they sell to med schools or sometimes to the US Army for ballistic tests.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Is this what your organ donor card
Maybe.
possibly leads you to being like a dummy for artillery
Yeah, they
fire?
just sort of prop you up and fire at you. It's just to see what happens.
Right. So Frank mentions to young Freddy, he was like, you know, the craziest story though that ever happened that I've ever seen. Do you remember the movie The Night of the Living Dead? That was,
Wait, I've seen that movie.
yeah. Yeah, we all saw that movie. That's a scary movie. How crazy. Well, it was based on a true case. Wait, didn't the zombies overrun everything? No, not at all. In fact, the US Army rounded them all up, put them in containers, and then accidentally shipped them here.
I love how he's like, the army. You know how it goes. The army trying to do things, and then it just, snafu. We ended up getting like 6 containers filled with zombie parts. But then we also didn't tell anybody.
Uh-huh.
Like we didn't report them missing.
That feels like a
We're
felony to me, even if it's
like,
the Army error.
why are you gonna sit on that, Unita?
Yeah, so they have he takes him down into the basement. He shows him there's a set of these like big metal barrels, and open the top lid, and it's sealed with glass on the top, and inside is a zombie corpse.
Ugh, the best.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I think this is the point in time to say, honestly, pound for pound, this is one of the best special effects zombie movies ever created.
It's really good.
Like, you get the full gamut of decomposition
Yeah,
and reanimation in this movie. Does it make sense? Not all the time. Not gonna lie. How
right.
did that zombie lady on that table talk with no tongue? We're not gonna ask these questions.
No, no, no.
But for the look of it, it's tight. Like it's so good.
Yeah.
And this introduction of this like mummified zombie is so scary because
It's
it's
really
kind of
scary. Kind
like
of
he like sort of
beautiful
wipes
too.
off. It's beautiful, and it's like he wipes off the sort of top, and it's just like pressed up against the glass.
Yeah,
Horrifying.
horrifying. So Freddy's like, wow, ooh, this is scary. Like, could this like break or leak? He's like, no, these things are rock solid. They were built by the Army Corps of Engineers. And he slaps the side, which breaks the tank, releasing the
Oh.
245 trioxin gas throughout the building.
Ugh. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh is right. And
Uh-oh,
so,
SpaghettiOs.
so so two things. One, we're gonna find pretty soon that this zombie that was in the tank is gone, and Frank assumes, oh, it must have melted.
Oh, it just melted.
Oh, of course, that's how bodies work.
Mm-hmm.
And then two, all of these gases go up into the central air system, and they reanimate the new cadaver we just saw upstairs in like the meat locker.
Yes. Yellow dude.
Yeah. So meanwhile, we're gonna meet our 80s punks.
Oh,
And so
the
they're all
best.
killing time because Freddy is working till 10 that night, but it's like
Yeah.
probably a Friday night. We got to go out. We want to go do something fun. Freddie
What's
knows.
yes, the
He
Thursday
knows the
before
parties.
it's the Thursday before 4th of July
Oh,
weekend.
that's right. It's 4th of July weekend. So we've got, we'll do our best to remember all of these names, but we've got Tina, who's kind of the
Yeah.
most like all American girl looking.
Yeah. She's your Debbie Gibson, Tiffany Mall,
Yes.
a pastel princess.
Yes. We've got Spider,
Yeah.
who's our one black character,
Yeah.
very tall dude. We've
Kind of
got,
kind of punk rocky, but not like death metal punk rocky.
yeah, a
More
little bit
like
more like culturally punk rather than
yeah.
literally punk. Trash, the hot redhead.
Oh, trash.
Who's
I
our,
mean,
is it What's her first name?
Linnea Quigley.
Linnea
Yeah.
Quigley.
Come on. Who honestly has some of the best lines slash line readings in any film ever.
I love her character. Her character is so good. Everything she has to say is tremendous. She's so goth, pre-goth.
Yeah. Like when they roll up to the Unita and they're like, "Oh, look at that ugly building." She's like, "I love it. It's a statement."
Do you guys ever think about death? She's like, they're like, you all you ever think about is death and sex. She's like, I like death. I like sex and death.
So why don't you fuck off and die?
That's it. Yep. We've also got Chuck, who's our John Hughes sort of character,
Yeah.
like our nerdy coat and tie guy.
Yeah, floppy hair boy who's kind of
Um,
all, the ducky character who's kind of always after the girl.
Casey, our brunette, short-haired brunette girl,
Yeah.
who is more Cyndi Lauper, I think, than
Yeah. Quirky.
yeah.
Quirky fashion girl.
Scuzz, who's our Mohawk. Hang on. I'm sorry. I don't remember asking
Uh-oh.
you to turn things off.
Banished.
Oh, I hate roommates. Scuzz, who has the Mohawk.
Yeah. Who also has the car.
No, that's Suicide who owns the
Oh,
car.
I'm sorry. Oh, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're totally right.
Yep. And yeah, Suicide is he's our shaved head punk. He's got like lines drawn into his shaved head. He's our leather boy. He's got
Literally wearing just chains.
chains and leather. He's he's got real God, I can't remember the character names for. He's got real like train spotting energy to him.
Transpotting. Yeah, like it's sort of implied that he's a drug dealer as well.
Yeah. He drives a convertible that doesn't have any windows. Because he busted them all out.
He smashed them out, and it does say suicide on the front hood of the
Spray
car.
painted on the hood of the car.
Come on.
So they're driving over to find Freddy at his new job, but he doesn't get off till 10. So they're like, we got 2 more hours. Let's kick it in the graveyard.
Yeah. Because they can't go to the park because the cops told them if they don't come back to the parks, they'll kill them.
Yeah, that's right.
Stupid authority.
I also want to bring up there's another pause for a second because there's an emergency in Brooklyn. Okay, great. They also have a cutaway to this beautiful house on the Pacific coast, somewhere in California. We learn it's San Diego, where we have Colonel Glover, where he lives with his mother, Ethel.
Mother wife?
This,
That's his wife.
It is definitely his wife.
In one of the that house is crazy. Like the most gaudy, like that fucking what do you call it? Like when you paint on a wall, not a tapestry, a mosaic mural. Yikes.
All of the like faux deep, like the red velvet shit everywhere and drapery. He's got like a little carve out in the den for this communications system that we sort of learn through context clues that his whole job for the last 13 years has been to try to find and to stay on 24-hour radio contact with the military because they are looking for these barrels that they had misplaced.
So he literally just sits by the phone.
Yeah.
And that phone messes up his wife's oven, apparently.
Yeah, she's like, it's messing with my microwave oven. I don't know how this works.
Technology in the 80s. Do you remember technology in the 80s? People really didn't know. They were like, oh, what do we do with these things, these new innovations?
You remember how frustrated older people would get when you were a kid in the 80s at it was just amazing that little Cecil knows how to set the clock on the microwave.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he's so smart. He's going to be a computer programmer when he's
That's right.
Okay, so those are our kind of prime areas that we've set up, but this gas has gone off inside Unita and knocks out Fred and Frank and Freddy for a little bit, but when they come to, they notice that the the body in the tank. By the way, this is a movie fully aware of zombie and zombie rules. I don't think they ever say the word zombie, just like Night of the Living Dead never
I think
says
they
zombie.
do. I think
Oh, do
somebody
they?
says it in passing real
Okay.
quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
But one of them's missing. They think it melted, and then they they one go upstairs back to the inventory room. One of the half dogs has come to life,
Yes. Yes.
which is funny because
Which is
it's
funny.
split down the middle.
And it's like panting, like it's really happy.
Yeah.
But what's even funnier is when they start beating it with a crutch.
And
Like that
also
dog is nailed to a board. It's not going to do anything to you.
and also just the notion that they are using real life taxidermied half dogs,
I know.
split
I love
dogs.
it. One of my other favorite things from the scene, they're waking up and they're like, "Oh, it's all over us. It's on our skin. It's in our lungs. It's on our
Mm-hmm.
clothes. It's everywhere. It smells terrible. Here, let me get the Lysol and just start like just like a fart in a bathroom. Just
Uh-huh.
like Lysol the whole thing, which apparently, like when you do product placement like that, you have to sort of ask permission from brands. And Lysol loved the idea
Uh-huh.
that Lysol could cover the smell of anything, even the living dead.
That's so good. Okay, so they also can hear that that cadaver is in the meat
Oh
locker
yeah.
pounding trying to get out. So Frank says we can't call the cops. We definitely can't call the army. They can't know about any of this.
What?
So
What?
what?
Irony. The irony is if they had called the army first,
Uh-huh. Like
you would
13
have.
years ago when they got this
Oh,
mistaken
sure. No,
ship.
no, no. Oh,
Yeah.
no. You should have called like the moment you got some weird ass shit that you did not order on your doorstep. That is not your Amazon package.
No.
Ship it back.
Uh-uh.
But if they had called, they're like, uh-oh, we broke the thing, called in case of emergency. Well, they would have, these two guys probably would have been toast. Not going to lie, because, well, they're zombies.
Yeah.
They would have had to, the army would have had to deal with them, with the corpse, the cadaver, and that's it.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
and a split dog,
Yeah. Yeah.
the
And a half
band.
dog. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the split dog, that's the term, yes. Okay, so they decide we need to call Bert, who is their boss.
Call the boss.
I like that when they're having this argument in the background on the wall, there's a sign that looks like one of those uh reading
Like eye
tests.
test.
Yeah,
Yeah.
eye test at an optometrist. But when you read the letters in order, it says Bert is a slave driver all the way down the list.
It's like Bert is an asshole. Yeah.
Yep. And so they, Bert shows up, choose Frank's ass out. And he's like, all right, well, yeah, you're right, though. We can't be calling anyone. So let's just destroy the evidence
Sure.
and keep our mouths shut.
Yeah.
And they know, hey, remember the rules of Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead?
Yeah.
You just got to destroy the brain and we'll be fine.
Yeah. That's it.
Easy. Freddy, crack that door open, and
So here,
Frank,
you
take
take
this
this pickaxe.
Yep.
I'm going to stand way back here.
Oh my god. I love it that they open that door and that zombie who is just a shaved, greenish looking naked man,
Oh, he's like yellow.
kind of yellowish,
He's
yeah.
like jaundiced yellow
Ugh. And he just runs right for Bert.
because Bert's the only living brain.
You're right. Of course,
The
because these boys got gassed. Yeah.
Yeah. So like those brains are no good to eat.
Yeah.
So even though they're not kind of technically dead yet, or maybe they are, who knows? It's pretty early. Yeah. Bert is he can smell it.
Mm-hmm. It's like skipping past the vegan salad option and going right for the
That's right. Oh,
tacos.
speaking of, what do vegan zombies eat, Jeffrey?
Oh, that's such a good question.
Grains.
It's been a long time since I walked right into a joke like that.
That's my dad joke of the day.
Wow. All right. Well, let's decide what movie we're going to watch next.
All right, everybody, roll those dice.
Okay. So, yeah, they then pin it down.
Yeah,
Bert takes the pickaxe, drives it right to the back of this guy's skull, and
I
he
love it.
is still moving.
Still moving. And then they make a tactical error
Yeah.
because they've got this thing pinned to the concrete.
Yes.
But they're like, you know what we're going to do? Remove the head.
Maybe that's what we did. Maybe it's not about the brain, it's about removing the head, like a
Yeah.
vampire. Nope.
But that just frees the body to run amok.
Mm-hmm. So now they're like, I don't even know what we're supposed to do with this shit. So they consider they have this nitric acid.
Yeah.
Later we learn when we see the acid, it's like a pickle jar full of it.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
it's
that's
not
it.
very
We
much.
don't have much. Yeah.
They then just keep chopping this thing up, and every part is still alive.
Yeah.
Chop an arm off, the arm still moves, body still moves.
Animated.
Yep. So now let's call Ernie. Bert is gonna call Ernie.
That's right. And apparently this was like not intentional. In a movie of very kind of funny things, this is sort of that just happened to be their names. It wasn't intentional.
It
Bert
felt
and Ernie.
not intentional because they never really say the names together, and there's
Right.
nothing about either of these guys that fit those Sesame Street characters. But
Right.
Ernie runs the mortuary, sort of next door, like just down the way. And they go see Ernie. Ernie is listening to headphones, doesn't hear them come in. When he gets tapped on the shoulder, he immediately draws his Ruger on them.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing about Ernie is that like he's totally a Nazi.
Right.
Like he's absolutely an escaped Nazi.
Yes.
That has like set up a new life in the United States.
Pause for 1 second. I just spilled my tea. Hang on.
Oh.
Uh-oh. I might need to ask Santa Claus for a new keyboard.
Uh-oh. Oh no. Is it
fine.
that bad?
The keyboard is its own separate deal. So it's not like it's my computer it's not my laptop. So that's good news. But first let's turn it off. Boy, it just went right across every.
Oh no.
Shut this fucking shit's everywhere. It's also herbal tea, so it looks like I just peed all over my desk.
Oh, fun.
That's good. It's cute.
Well, at least it won't be sticky.
No, that's true. I didn't have any sugar in it or cream or anything. I remember when Sarah Griffin came to visit once, and I have a little electric kettle and I've got like a little tea caddy over there, but I only drink herbal teas.
Okay.
I don't have black tea. I don't have breakfast tea or Earl Grey or Irish breakfast or whatever. And Griff was like, "Oh, I don't drink pond water."
Oh my.
Because she's Irish, right? Like she only drinks.
Yeah, she's like the stronger the better.
Yeah. Hey, man, God Almighty.
Man, you got like the whole.
I
got all of it.
It's the beginning of the episode. I hadn't drunk very much. Okay. Hey, excuse me. All right. Damn. God Almighty. All right. I think we're good. You're right. He's giving off strong Nazi vibes.
Yeah. Like the gun, the music he's listening to, The sort of bleach blonde hair, the fact that there's a poster of like the Fuhrer in the
Oh, I
background.
missed that entirely.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Um, and then not to mention that his job specifically relates to crematorium ovens.
I don't I don't know why I wasn't registering this at all. That's amazing. Yeah, he's quite a bit, this Ernie. I mean, he is a practical fellow.
Yes. And I do appreciate that, you know, Bert is just trying to cover his ass. Frank and Freddie are looking worse and worse by the minute.
Hmm.
And so Ernie is kind of the voice of reason, let's say.
Yes. So, one, they bring him like just trash bags
Oh, I
filled
love
with
it.
these chopped up body parts, and they're all wriggling.
And they're moving and they're like, "What you got in the bag?"
They're like, rabid weasels that we caught. Well, take them to the
That's
pound.
that's the first name of the track of Split
Yeah,
Dogs is Rabid
rabid
Weasels.
weasels. Yeah, Ernie's just like, well,
Well, yeah, why are you
I
bringing them
don't
to
bring that
me?
shit here.
Yeah. They're like,
Uh,
well, we ordered these weasels, and you know how things go. Again, it's kind of like with the army. The army. Weasels.
what are you gonna do?
They're like,
And,
just call, yeah, like,
and they were thinking,
I don't
well,
want to
why
get
don't we
involved in
just burn
this.
them alive
Yeah,
in your
well, that's
incinerator?
cruel.
It's like, yeah, you can't just burn an animal alive. Here, let me take him out to the parking lot and I'll shoot him.
And shoot them in.
And then finally, they're like, okay, Ernie, listen, can you keep a secret?
Do you
They
pinky
show him what it
swear?
is. Pinky swear. And he's like, fucking fine.
That's messed up. Like the hand grabs him.
Yes.
They have to like claw it off of him. And he does, he recovers very quickly, which, as we know from zombie survival films, it's really the ability to accept the situation,
Mm-hmm.
process, digest,
Yep.
and then move on,
Yeah.
which Ernie does quite well, as
He
opposed
does.
to a lot of our other characters, which do a bit of screaming and running and pulling of hair and teeth gnashing.
Right, right, right. So they throw him into the incinerator and burn them to a crisp.
They're like, but what if it doesn't work? And it's like, well, we'll just turn it up even hotter. We're going to
Yeah.
burn even the little tiny bits.
Yeah.
We also get there's two, which I think is kind of fascinating. There's three sort of hidden things that I think all screenwriters should take note. Maybe in a comedy, but maybe in just sort of screenwriting in general. One, the fact that the cemetery is the resurrection cemetery,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
where bodies come are
Back.
resurrected.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great, love that. But we get our sort of second plot dialogue Easter egg here, which is when Frank says, "Gosh, he's like making us do a big old favor for him just to work that you know crematorium. Hell, I could work that crematorium."
Yes,
And later, he does.
he does. Okay, so they burn these things and smoke spreads up into the air,
See those clouds.
seeds those clouds. Animated rainstorm,
I
thunderstorm comes
love it.
down. Before all of this, we've got the punk teens in the cemetery fucking killing time.
They are partying.
Boy, immediately, Trash is like, tits out, I'm gonna
Yep.
dance on this tomb.
And we get our sort of a third Easter egg. I love it when Trash is like, "Hey, you ever think about dying? You ever think about all the ways you can be killed?" One, she's all like getting hot and horny over this talk of death. She's like, "I think the worst way to go would be surrounded by a group of old men who rip off my clothes and bite me." And that is how she dies.
It is. Now, do we think, given the way she said it, do we think she thinks that's the worst way to go?
Or the
Or the
best
best
way.
way to go? Well, she goes straight naked dancing on a tune.
Oh
They're just
yeah.
having a great party. It's a
But
good
like not
time.
even if she's got those leg warmers on. Come on. Where did
Yeah.
leg warmers go? Everyone, we went to like I think like yoga pants are the new leg warmers. But I
Yeah.
kind of miss the like s- the silliness of just like no, they're just like sleeves for your legs.
They're essentially just yoga pants but without the seat. It's just the
Yeah.
legs of the
Yeah.
yoga pants is yeah, because there's the two types. There's that type, which is more, she's wearing like the tights version of it.
Yeah.
Then there's the like wool, stretchy wool leg
Yeah.
warmers, which is more like Jane Fonda's workout,
Flash dance.
flash dance sort of bit.
But I don't know. It's so ugly. It's kind of hot,
Yes.
sort
Yeah.
of an era for sure.
Very of an era, not really ever brought back. We've brought a lot of things back
Yeah.
from the 80s. There was a time in the 2000s where people were bringing back the members only jacket and even
Oh,
the
sure.
coat and skinny tie look of
Yep.
Chuck in
Yep.
this movie. The round glasses of the early 90s are still
Yep.
kind of happening right now. Anyways, y'all bring back young people. If you listen to this
Bring back
show,
leg warmers.
somebody try to make leg warmers happen again. But this, the rain starts coming down. They're like, it's like acid rain. This
Yeah.
burns. And they go scrambling back into Suicide's car and put the top up.
But the car is like, it's a piece of shit.
It
So
is.
it's really
Roof
just getting in.
leaks.
I love how like Trash is just like freaking out. I think she goes to Casey and she's like, "Here, give me this. It's all over me. Get me a towel." They're like, "Bitch, we don't have a towel. There's no towel in this car."
No. The only person who doesn't run to the car is Tina, who is Freddie's girlfriend, who had a little bit earlier wandered over into the UNITA building because it was 10 o'clock. I'm like,
Yeah.
Freddie should be out
Where's
by
Freddie?
now.
Oh, and also I think Chuck and Casey saw Freddie and they're like, "Hey, isn't that Freddie?" They're like, "Nah, it can't be Freddie. Why is Freddie going into a mortuary?
Yeah,
That's dumb."
yeah,
Like carrying a gurney with wriggling bodies
yes.
on it.
Well, Tina finds Freddie's hat, but no Freddie is
I
looking
know.
around, goes into the basement, finds that busted open barrel,
That's weird.
and then boom, here comes the zombie from that barrel.
Oh, I love it.
This
Affectionately called
zombie,
Tarman.
yes, like he's drippy.
I love it. Like, why is he wet? Well, because he's been sitting in ozone goo for
Yeah,
20 years.
he's been in the that goo. He's moist. He is drippy. Also, these aren't necessarily fast zombies, but they're faster than. They're not shambling zombies from
Yes.
Night of the Living Dead. They move
And they're
more like
yeah. And they're smart zombies.
they're very smart
And I
zombies.
think that's the difference between like, kind of we have the Romero, the shambling dead. We've got the 28 days later, the rabid, the infected, which
Uh-huh.
are like just pure rage. Like no thought, all adrenaline. And then I like these zombies because they operate in a more human era. Like they
Yeah.
can think. This zombie, like literally rigs up a winch
Yeah.
with a chain to like this zombie can use it's like watching a crow use a tool. You're like, oh my God, these animals are going to take over the world. Like, how can they think? How can they like reason this out? These zombies can talk, they can reason, they can plot and plan.
Hmm.
To me, that's like, I mean, to comedic effect in this movie, but also that's like way scarier.
They I agree. And I think the it gets to the heart of kind of one of the main themes or revelations of this film that we'll learn a little bit later, but we'll talk about now, is that the reason they want brains is because dying is painful and it
Yeah.
hurts. And because you can feel yourself, as the half woman says on the examination table, it you can feel yourself rotting. You can
And
feel your own.
brains are the only thing that alleviate that pain for a little while.
Yeah. So again, I think I mentioned in some other episode we did that there's a recurring theme in like 80s horror is addiction.
Yeah. And we normally get addiction in vampire stories,
Right.
the need for blood, the bloodlust. But you don't really get it as much in zombie movies until now.
Right.
And it really, like the way they talk about it, it's like heroin.
Yeah.
Like it sounds like there's only one thing that can stop my fiend, and I'm willing to do anything to get it.
So they've got also, oh, I want to mention too that I knew going into this movie because I had asked you about this before, which was Return of the Living Dead, the movie where they invented brains as this zombie trope. And it is the first thing
Yeah.
we hear a zombie say is this tar zombie, this slime zombie, that gets at Tina. He just shouts brains, and it's
Living
very
brains.
living brains, and it's very funny. But also, that's the refrain throughout this whole movie. I didn't
Oh my
realize it was
God.
going to be the refrain of the
Oh, well,
film.
there's two. There's party and brains.
Yes,
Where are we going to party? Send more brains.
send more brains. Okay, so she starts screaming. She, kind of gets free. She, she hides in this closet. It develops like a winch using a
I
chain to
know.
crank this thing open. The other teens have gone into the building to go get Tina, and they hear her screaming. They race downstairs, and here comes Suicide, too close to
Yeah.
Slime Zombie. More brains, and he just
Just
bites his head.
chomp. I love the kill the biggest, strongest character first.
Yeah.
I think that's like such a great move that you
Mhm.
can make as like as a filmmaker because like Suicide is massive. He's tough. All the other kids are scared of him.
Mhm.
Like he's as he says, it's not a costume, it's a lifestyle. And his
Mhm.
lifestyle is rough.
Yeah.
So to have the zombie just like take him out, not even a moment of fight back, kind of like imparts to everybody this fucked up.
Yeah. Okay, so Ernie, but over at the mortuary, had seen how Frank and Freddie are like turning pale white with like
Yeah,
jaundiced yellow tongues
yeah.
and eyes. And he calls EMTs being like, I got two guys who are poisoned. And the
How were they
EMTs,
poisoned?
yeah, the EMTs show up and
Oh,
like, what kind of
you know.
chemical was it?
Oh, I,
I got to make some calls. I can't do that till the morning.
I'm sorry. You're you're cutting. Sir, I'm standing right in front of you. I do love how like that's kind of the explanation for everything. The army. No, poison.
Right. And this is a great scene with these two
I love
MTs
this.
taking they're checking the pulse of these two. They've just got the blood
Yeah,
pressure things,
stethoscope. Yeah.
and they're like, "Wait, do you have a stethoscope? Mine doesn't seem to work. I'm not getting a heartbeat." And the guy's like, I'm
I'm
not
not getting a
either."
heartbeat here.
And
They're like
then
taking the pulse. No pulse.
I like the misdirect of, "What do you got over there?" I got 70, and you think he's talking about heart rate. He was like, "No, 70-degree body temperature.
Yeah, which
These
is
guys are room temperature."
room temp. Room temp.
And they're like,
But it's really the like when they kind of step aside that like it's weirdly affecting.
yeah,
Like it's because you really, you kind of feel, I mean, like, Frank and Freddie are not they're our main protagonists. And sure, they kind of got us all into this mess, but also like you feel bad for them
hmm,
because honestly, that zombie should not have been in the basement to begin with.
right, right.
So like when these two EMTs are just like, we're gonna stand aside, and they're kind of like, are we being pranked? What the fuck?
Hmm.
And it's like there's like real desperation in Frank and Freddie's voice of like, what are you all talking about?
Right.
It's really sad.
Yeah, it really is.
Like there
Uh,
is humanity in this movie for all of its zaniness.
yeah, and this movie definitely, if it has a choice between having to do one or the other, it's always going to choose zany. But it does have
Sure.
these moments of humanity, of
Yeah.
gravity, and yeah, because we all know, oh, these guys are fucked. They're turning into
Yeah.
zombies, and
Yeah.
this is that confirmation. of what that is. Okay, so the teens are super freaking out now
Yeah.
because they just watched suicide get head chomped. They don't know who to call or where to go. They go make a break for it. Unfortunately, they make a break for it through the cemetery.
Through the cemetery,
There's a
Resurrection
whole
Cemetery.
ass
Oh,
road right there, but they don't
love
choose
it.
that.
This is very like Thriller, the
Yeah,
video Thriller-esque. Like, this is our classic Lucio Fulci zombie. Like, we need to see the zombies rise from the grave.
yeah,
And I like that it's my thing in zombie movies is like, how those zombies getting out of those coffins? Coffins are thick.
yeah,
Like, coffins are like you can't like 1 inch punch your way out like Uma
yeah.
Thurman. But in this, we don't really deal with that. But we do kind of, I like the sort of like the split dog, the sort of split earth
Uh-huh.
shot of like seeing the water trickle down through, through the layers into a coffin to start dripping on somebody's foot. And then seeing the zombie crawl his way up through the mud. And I think having like muddy zombies is like the grossest.
Yes.
Like the fact, like much like Tarman, like the fact that there's like a texture to them. They're not dry and dusty. They're like gross and muddy and sticky and it also means that like honestly, you can kind of cover as many extras in mud and muddy clothing and they all kind of look the same. So you don't have to worry about like too much special effects for the background.
Mm-hmm. I want to make note here that this movie was directed by Dan O'Bannon,
Yep.
who also, well, before this, he was the writer of Dark Star, which was John Carpenter's debut film. He also was like a graphics and animation consultant on Star Wars, as well as on Alien, which
Oh
he
yeah.
was the screenwriter of the movie
Yeah.
Alien,
Yeah.
which is wild to me because it's so different. I mean, again,
Sure.
kind of how we
Different kind of
say,
horror.
yeah, it's kind of how we say, like with actors, like it's amazing that they can play these two different parts, and you're like, yeah, it's called acting. The same
Yeah.
way,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's
It's
called
like
writing. You write
called
the thing.
writing.
You're
This
good at
is a
writing.
different thing. Which is
But
why,
he,
like, I've been trying to get one of the other films he directed was Life Force, which is like,
yes,
what if space vampires but sexy?
mm-hmm.
I've been trying to get that movie on this podcast for a hot minute.
He also wrote later in 1990. He wrote Total Recall.
Yes.
So he has a real sense of humor. This guy, like
Yeah.
Alien, is like the most humorless of all of those
Sure.
films, but also probably the best of all of
Yeah.
those films. But yeah, interesting. I mean, he comes from a writing background, but also a visual background too, as a like a special effects consultant on these
I
films.
love it.
Yeah. So speaking to the cross section of the Earth is such a great
So
visual
good.
because it makes it instantly repeatable at the end
Yeah.
when we get to our ending and how the zombies get reanimated later. Okay, so the teens are gonna a few things are gonna happen with these teens. So one,
Let's split up.
let's split up. First off, poor Trash gets
Oh,
hauled down by a group of zombies in the mud. She's all naked and shit, and they
yeah.
are barely dressed because she had gotten something, but they tear her
Yeah.
clothes off and tackle her and bite her. Chuck and Casey go
They go over
hide
to
in
Unita.
and
Yeah.
hide. And Spider and Scuzz make it back to
And Tina? Yeah.
and
And
no, yeah, Spider, Scuzz, and Tina make it over to the mortuary.
yeah.
Okay,
Which is an amazing scene in which Ernie's like, "What you kids doing out here? You on PCP?" And they're like, "We're not on drugs. We just need to get inside."
two drugs from the 80s that I
Oh
heard
my
referenced
God.
so many times
Yeah.
are PCP and Quaaludes. Do we still have either of those? I never hear them referenced anymore.
I don't think Quaaludes are around.
Okay.
That's not yeah, that was really big in the 70s, early 80s, and I don't think they make those anymore. PCP could not tell you. I think it's a very specific compound that
And
people were like, this
and
is not worth
PCP
it.
is angel dust, right?
Sure.
Is that the same thing? Anyways,
Sure.
whatever.
I don't know.
All I know is if you're a cop and you're testing it, you're supposed to put your pinky, lick your pinky, put it in the powder, and then rub it on
Uh-huh.
your gums.
Yeah, and then it
and then
has a
you know the
specific
drug.
flavor.
Yeah.
But I think the thing is like again, back to this idea of like PCP is like its main component is that it kind of makes you just like unhinged
Uh-huh.
rage monster, which is the scare, like the scare behind the scare of the 80s,
Yeah.
you know? Like, what if people were just so hopped up on goofballs? Is that a
Uh-huh.
goofball?
Yeah.
Is that a goofball?
Sure.
That like they couldn't even be reasoned with. These unreasonable people that didn't vote for Reagan. They must be on PCP with their wild hair and their chains and
Uh-huh.
piercings.
I really love one of my favorite lines in this movie is after we let the teens in and we're all talking and it's Ernie, it's the teens, it's Bert, and we're figuring out what's happening and the teens are explaining all that screaming out there. That's the dead coming back to life.
Yeah, like
And
hundreds of them.
Ernie just says in the most deadpan way, "I think things are getting out of hand."
I know, I love it.
Tina also sees Freddy in there, and it's like, "Oh my God, Freddy,
Yeah,
are
Freddy's
you
not looking
okay? You
good.
look rough.
No.
What did they do to you?" I want this movie was in an era where it was hard to think of how to make women
Yeah.
because Tina is just the screamer
Yeah, she literally just like cries and screams for the rest of the film.
and Trash is our vixen
Yeah.
character.
And she's taken out. Now she is literally just a nude corpse.
And Casey is our independent girl who ultimately needs a boy to protect her,
That's
sort of
right.
thing. Yeah.
Like literally she's like, you know, Casey, I never liked you, but hold me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the EMTs have left. They go back to their van,
Because
put
they're
their
like, we need
stuff
a second
away.
opinion.
Yes. And then suddenly, here are the zombies. I love this scare. He
Yeah.
gets in the van, turns on the headlights and the engine, and they're just
Yeah.
standing out in front of the
Like a
windshield, just
dozen.
dozen zombies staring right at him.
Take him out.
Chomp, chomp.
Yep. Then the guy in the back is like, wait, methinks I hear a noise. And sees his friend, his brains being eaten.
Uh-huh.
This is the most like practical, like when you think zombie movie, like, you know, very, very of the dead moment in which there, you know, there's a zombie like hunched over, like putting
Yeah.
calf brains into his mouth. But
The
what comes
special.
next, Jeffrey?
Uh-huh.
When that zombie then goes and picks up the CB radio
Because
as
we
like,
hear dispatch being like,
are you
van
okay? Yeah, what's going
219er,
on?
come over,
Yeah.
van 219er. What's your location? What does the zombie say?
Send more paramedics.
God, it's such a funny bit because this happens like 4 times
Yeah.
where you see a van pull up and it's all a really wide shot
Yeah.
from the point of view of like looking out the window into the lot in front of the mortuary. And two more guys get out and the
Two more
zombies all
paramedics.
leap out and tackle
Two more
them.
thing. Cops show up. Send more cops. And then eventually, it's like they even have a zombified cop just like
Directing traffic.
half animated directing traffic. Like six cop cars pull up, and then from the sides, like 100 zombies take
Uh-huh.
like the zombies are thinking, Jeffrey.
Uh-huh.
The zombies are strategizing.
God, they're so funny. Yeah, when he says send more paramedics, I was so shocked because that's the first moment you understand how well they can communicate. We understand they're
Yeah.
smart because Slime Zombie in the basement rigs up that winch. But this is the first moment where you realize, oh, they can behave just straight up like humans.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is very funny that seeing these other EMTs keep coming. This is a recurring joke. Scuzz and Spider, like, Scuzz draws his switchblade on Bert. I'm sorry. Scuzz draws his switchblade on Ernie to be like, you got to tell us what's going on here,
Yeah.
man.
Like clue us in here.
And we do get the whole explanation, and Freddy starts to talk about the pain he's in,
Yeah.
and he describes it in the same way that when we first meet Ernie, he describes rigor mortis to Bert.
Yeah. Like it starts in the head. He's like, I had a terrible headache. And then I felt it like an ache in my lungs. And now
Uh-huh.
it's an ache all over my, they're like, here, pull up your shirt in the back. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Your blood is pooling from where you were lying down.
Yeah. Yep.
You have rigor mortis.
You have rigor mortis. So, also, okay, hold on. Let me pause for 1 second here. I lost my spot in the notes. Okay, so now the zombies are outside and they are just like a Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
They're coming at the house, so we have the very quick, appreciate
Yeah.
the quick movement of get those boards, nail them
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
take them
How
out.
many windows do we have?
We all saw the movie. We know
Yep.
what to do. Let's
Yep.
not argue like they did in Night of the Living
Oh
Dead.
my God. I know,
Let's
right?
just get to it. But in the process of, one of the boards gets knocked out, they try to go put it back up. In the process, Scuzz gets grabbed and his head is bitten. And they yank him back in, and then they bring in a half woman,
Yes.
just the top half.
Just the top half.
Now, of course, her lower half was just skeleton. So is her arms. So is her face. But
Yeah.
she still has her titties.
Yes, she does.
That didn't go away.
Yeah. No. No, that doesn't. Why? How would we know it's a woman?
It's so absurd. And Ernie puts her on this examination table and they strap her down. And Cecil, she can talk.
Yes.
She has no lips, but she can
No.
enunciate
She
P's
has no
and E's.
tongue.
Yeah. She's
She,
doing plosives.
yeah.
Incredible.
I mean, it makes no sense, but it's also kind of amazing.
It truly
Not,
is.
and I think what, for me, honestly, it was the like animatronic, like the puppetry of it that was so scary the first time I saw it. Like scary. But what I loved is the fact that her like severed spine is like sort of like thrashing on the table. It's so visceral.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. It's like a little tail. It's like
Yeah.
when your cat's a little irritated and you see its tail
Yeah.
kind of flopping back and forth.
But it's like trying to like wriggle its way out of the ropes.
Uh-huh.
But she's giving a full-on Oprah Phil Donahue interview.
Well,
Ma'am, what does it feel
yes.
like to be dead? It hurts.
Why do you eat people? We don't eat people. We eat brains
Brains. Why
because
brains?
it hurts to be dead. I can feel myself rot, which is, I think, a really horrifying concept. I think
Yeah.
this movie doesn't exploit that particular terror. It brings it up here,
Yeah.
but the concept of buried alive.
Sure.
And so the notion that when you die, you're conscious in your own
Yeah.
body,
Yeah.
and that all of the
Forever.
chemicals have done actually is reanimate the body.
Yeah.
But you're alive in the body the whole time.
You're undead.
You're undead, so you can feel everything happening to you and you can do nothing about it.
It's also, I mean, again, back to this addiction, like it's like when every cell of your body hurts
Hmm.
because you've been taking a drug that is now leaving your body depleted,
Hmm.
and the only thing to make you feel better is more of that drug,
Yeah.
and you're
So,
willing to do anything to get it.
yeah, that's how bad you feel. So, we have a conversation. How do we kill those things? Bert is like, all you can do is burn them to ashes. And Spider's like, how the shit are we going to do that?
Yeah, yeah, for real. There's like hundreds of them now.
And I was really curious about, at this point, I was very curious about where this movie was going to go. Were
Yeah.
we going to rig up some kind of giant blowtorch to kill them all? Like, how were they going to resolve? Because we set up the rules of how these zombies exist, and they're virtually indestructible.
Yeah.
And there's no, like, are they going to lure them to a giant pit full of kerosene and light it on
Right.
fire? Like, how do you do this?
And like in, the of the Dead movies, you can kind of just like knock them down and
Yeah.
go in the opposite direction. But these zombies are a little more agile.
Yeah. So, outside, Trash emerges nude and now zombified
Oh
from
my
the mud.
God.
attacks a poor homeless man who's just
Yeah.
pushing his cart around.
I love it that she's like alabaster white,
Yes.
red hair
Uh huh.
still.
So Bert says, okay, we know what's happening to Frank and Freddy. And I'm not saying we need to kill them. I
No,
am
we should,
saying we should quarantine them.
yeah, maybe put them in a room where they're not going to eat our brains.
Yeah. So we're going to lock them in the chapel. But Tina's like, I'm not leaving Freddy. And they're like,
Stand by your man.
stand by your man, Tammy. We're going to lock you in then. And they do. And Freddy, in her arms, is in so much pain. And he says, I finally understand, Tina, what can relieve my suffering. Live brains!
Oh my God, this moment.
Ah!
Because he's so like doofy, good looking. Like you really, I mean, you don't think he's going to make it because he's looking bad at this point. But
Yeah.
you don't anticipate that swap because zombies are normally like expressionless,
Yeah.
guileless. They're just sort of reanimate. They're like mannequins come to life that can move, almost
Uh-huh.
robotic. But there's a like sinister quality to Undead Freddy.
Uh-huh. It's a little like it's a little ghost-like, right? Like we talked about how their
Yeah,
lust for brains is a little like the vampiric lust for blood. This
sure.
type of like turn is a little bit like the agitated soul, the ghost
Yeah,
that from beyond the grave, the ghost of your grandmother, who may have not been the sweetest lady in the world,
yeah.
but after she died, she became full force evil.
Evil. Yeah. And it's like, and he's got like a wicked great. I mean, he's like, the fact that he's kind of like, he's like, I love your brain, Tina. Help me, Tina. I love your brains. It's, it's scary.
Yeah. Yeah, he's manipulating her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he just turns into a rage monster.
Yeah, totally. Well, she manages to fight him off and the others come to the rescue.
Hey, at least they unlock the door.
Yeah.
We've seen so many goddamn movies in which they're like, I hear someone's in trouble on the other side of the door. There's four of us and one zombie. Fuck that living human. But
Uh-huh.
at least in this, they're like, oh, she's regretting her choice.
Yep. And
Let's go.
it's almost like they knew it was going to happen and they had prepared.
Yeah. I mean, because honestly, she was, not really thinking rationally. And sure, she
No.
wanted to be with him to the end, but the end is not great.
She didn't know what that was going to look like, and
Yeah.
love does not conquer all.
No, love does not conquer zombies.
No. So great scene. So from the door, they fight him off. She fights him off. They get her free. They beat him down, and Ernie comes in with that jar of acid, throws it right in Freddy's face, which we'll see in a little bit. Doesn't kill him, but effectively blinds him.
Yeah.
However, in the background during this fight, you see Frank like tiptoeing out of the room. It's
Yeah.
so good. It's very Looney Tunes. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's zany comedy that's happening for him. We have more cops and EMTs being sent. Nobody knows
Send
what's
more
happening at
cops.
dispatch. Uh, let's get to Frank's end now.
Yeah.
This is a couple scenes down the road, but we'll go ahead and talk about it. Frank goes. He knows what's happening.
Yeah.
He watched Freddy. He gets
Yeah.
it. He goes to the incinerator, does a little prayer. Forgive me, God, for this.
Takes off his wedding ring.
Oh,
It's real sad.
and then pulls himself up into the incinerator, slides the tray into the fire, and slams the door shut.
Yeah.
Wow, took one for the team.
I know. Again, it's the reason why I think zombie films, much like disaster films, are so enduring is because it's watching the various ways humans relate to their own situation.
Mm-hmm. So they are survivors here of Ernie, Bert, Tina, and Spider.
Yep.
That's all we have left. So the plan here that Bert has is that cop car, doors are open, car's running, keys in the ignition.
Yeah.
Spider and I are going to make a mad dash for it. Ernie's like, my foot is broken. I cannot run.
Yeah.
We cannot all four run. So Bert's like, we're going to make a dash for it, jump in the car, drive right up to the door. Tina, your job is to get Ernie out here and throw him in the back
Yeah.
seat. And they get halfway through this plan. They get out the door. They're like
They
hitting
get to the
zombies
car.
with
Yeah.
pipes, get in the car, drive up and through the zombies to the door, but that car gets covered in them.
Yeah. Like it's untenable.
And they peel out backwards. The spider's
Yeah.
like, go back. We got to go back
Yeah.
for him. He's like, I cannot. And it's interesting because inside, you definitely have the wisdom of elders and the irrationality of the youth. Because Tina's like, they abandoned us.
Yeah.
And Ernie's telling her, no, he would have only, I know him. He would have only done that if he had to get out of here. It's going to be.
I think it's also interesting that Bert is the like it's the constant we must cover up our own mistakes for self-interest.
Yeah.
You know, don't call the emergency number because that'll make me look bad. Don't call the cops because we can't have cops crawling over my business. Say the kind of save yourself mentality is
Uh-huh.
very like centered in Bert, which, you know, we get a lot of that in these sort of survival movies of the like, I'm gonna push you the fuck out of my way so I can survive,
Hmm.
which is, I think, a very human trait. Not, you know, that we all go, oh, villain, you know.
Yeah.
And then 30 seconds later, they're driving in that cop car away and they're like, no, 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 we'll call for help. We're just going to drive a safe distance away.
Yeah.
But there's like 100 zombies
Uh-huh.
in the lights. So many zombies that they just straight up drive that car into the Unita medical supplies.
Yep. Where they reunite with Chuck and Casey, and that car is totaled.
Yeah, like explodes off
It
camera.
explodes, yeah. I'm glad that you bring this up about Bert's character, because I do think the character arcs are sort of interesting in this movie, in that way, because Freddy, really, of our main characters, is the, I know Trash becomes a killing machine sort of thing.
Sure.
She becomes kind of one of the main zombies, the noticeable zombie, but Freddy turns evil, like based on
Yeah.
his behavior toward trying to get Tina's brains. But it's interesting how all of the human survivors, while there's some conflict, they are all working together,
That's true.
which is nice. It's different than Night of the Living Dead. Night of the
Yeah,
Living
yeah.
Dead is so much about human conflict.
Which is like political, almost like political factions. We should go
Yes.
upstairs. We should go downstairs. We should
Yeah.
barricade. We should make a run for it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so I find that refreshing. And at the same time, people are maybe not growing up, but they are changing in the face of a disaster. Like Bert is not an accountable person. He's a cover your ass type. But ultimately, he becomes useful in these moments, right?
Yeah.
Ernie is an isolationist, quick trigger, maybe Nazi admirer
Maybe
type. I don't know.
potential or
Yeah.
former Nazi.
Maybe former Nazi. That's as close enough to the war.
Yeah.
But is practically thinking through things in
Yeah.
the face of a disaster. So we're gonna go into Unita with Spider and Bert, Chuck and Casey. They they go down into the basement. They know there's just the one zombie down there. Bert's like, well, fine. There's four of us, one of it. I'll knock its block off, which he does.
Which he literally does.
Uh-huh.
And because like the thing about Tarman is that like all of his body is like slimy and gross except his head, which is just a perfect skull.
Yes.
But again, awesome puppetry. The puppetry of it's so fucking dope. But that skull just pops right off
Uh-huh.
like a tick. But hey, they get into the basement. They lock the door behind them.
Do. I find it interesting that so we see Freddy and Trash both come back to life, but we never see Suicide or
I know.
Scuzz come back
Scuzz.
to life.
I was like, you're just gonna let Scuzz lie there on the floor? That's ugh.
I would like
I kept thinking Suicide would also be zombified by the time they
I
got
did
down
too.
there.
I did too. Which makes me wonder if I don't know. Anyways, don't know all of the logic of the
Because
film, but
we're so much of the like, especially the 28 days, it's like it's an infection. So when you get bit, it's in the bloodstream. It's in the, like when they kind of science the fuck out of
uh-huh.
it. In the Day of the Dead movies and in the 28 Days Later movies.
Yeah.
This is like, I don't know, when you're dead,
Yeah.
unless you get like acid rained upon,
Uh-huh.
and then you become undead.
Yeah. I'm gonna cut back over to the mortuary where uh, Tina and Ernie have climbed up into basically the attic crawl space of the house, and Freddy is still coming after them, and he is saying, "I know you're up there because I can smell your brains,
It's
Tina."
interesting that he's so focused on Tina.
Yeah,
There's two people up there, but
yeah,
I think this plays at the sort of like dual face Jekyll and Hyde abusive boyfriend
mm-hmm,
kind of thing. Like, why is he so focused on like I can smell your brains?
yeah,
It's almost sounds vaguely sexual the way he says it.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've set up that these zombies still carry with them very strong human intellectual
Right.
qualities. And so, in the same way that if a slasher, this is where we said that the zombies are zombies, but they behave like vampires. They behave
Yeah.
like poltergeists or evil spirits. And here they're behaving like a slasher killer.
Yeah.
And
The
it
like
is,
slow stalking.
yeah, I know I'm going to kill this other guy too, but you're the one
Yeah.
I want to manipulate.
Yeah.
I want you to be scared. I'm Freddy. I want
Right.
you
Right.
to be
Yeah.
scared.
Like you only taste delicious if you're at the height of panic.
Yeah. That's what they say about beef. It's that
That's
you
it.
have to scare the shit out of the cow.
Scare that cow.
So that's they're being encroached upon upstairs, and it's really interesting because she's backed up against Ernie. He's got his arm protectively, like fatherly protection around her,
Mhm.
and he's holding his Ruger, which he knows is useless against
Yeah.
these monsters. But there's a moment where he starts pointing it at her head.
Oh shit. Oh, I missed that.
Well, it's very subtle, but they linger on it for a second, which made me wonder. And I don't, they never go through with this, but
Yeah.
I thought they were implying in this moment that he was actually thinking we might want to put ourselves out of our
Yeah.
misery.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And maybe if we destroy our brains
Then we won't come back.
back.
Or at the very, yeah,
I could also just be reading something into a gesture that wasn't there at all, but that was
sure.
what I was interpreting from this.
Based on last week's film, Strangeland, I'm reminded of the sort of the story of the
Uh-huh.
water tower,
Yeah.
of the like, at what point is it like, how horrible must a death be, zombies, for you to be like, no, I'm checking out.
Yeah. But back at Unita, Bert,
Deus ex machina.
yes, well, one, Bert calls the cops. The captain is outside. They've got a whole police barricade
Which I love that
set
they
up.
like he gets like the direct line to the like the head of
Yeah.
the Louisville cops like in his car. I was like, how did dispatch handle that call?
Yeah, and he's trying to explain to him what's happening, but the police can just get overwhelmed by zombies, and the captain
Oh,
gets, chief or whoever he is, gets swallowed up too. So then Bert sees that empty barrel and is like, oh, there's an army phone number on here.
oh my God. In case of emergency, call this number.
This is such a great sequence here. Because then now this turns into kind of that military, almost spy versus spy trope of like, now we've got to patch you through to a thing, to a person,
Yeah.
to a thing in another place across the
It's
world.
very Doctor Strangelove.
Yeah, here's a code sequencing that we
Yep.
have to do to enact a thing. But what makes the scene so great is we bring back the Colonel Glover
Mhm.
in San Diego. One, oh yeah, I remember this guy.
Yeah.
Two, we just see him in the middle of the night in his pajamas, sitting on the bed on the phone, saying, "Okay, oh good, okay great, yeah, okay. How many did you say?
And
Interesting.
what time?
What time?
And how many acres is the
Mm-hmm.
cemetery?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Excellent. Very, very reassuring.
Oh, I
Very
see.
calm.
Yeah.
Nothing is wrong.
Mm-mm.
Oh, thank you very much for your time and information.
Haunting.
Yeah.
Really disturbing.
Which is, I think, the thing about like, especially the sort of the Cold War era is that like people understood that decisions were being made at that level of, oh, I see. How many
Uh-huh.
nukes? How close? How many megatons of damage?
Uh-huh.
Ah, that's not good. Well, and that is like so fucking scary.
Yeah.
It's not a passionate like charging into war. It's a 249er,
Uh-huh.
36 degrees north, 25 degrees west.
Yeah.
Louisville eradicated.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love the code line of when he calls
Yes.
his head or the general and says, "Sir, it seems that we have found the Easter eggs. However, unfortunately, they have hatched." And
Oh, that's
so
so God.
and then we see a series of operational commands that go to a man operating basically army artillery, which is this giant missile launcher.
Yeah.
We see a nuclear warhead getting loaded into the firing chamber, and we cut back to Bert, and he's holding the phone away from his ear, telling the other survivors, he's like, "Okay, they tell me to have a special contingency plan.
What's the plan?
I don't know. I'm not sure, but
I
hopefully
don't
we'll
know what,
find out."
and I love that it's Spider that is always the like question authority because he's the like, I mean, granted, they're punks. They're like, they're the youth. They're like, oh, these fucking older generation, but especially Spider,
Uh
who's
huh.
like, wait a minute, that plan, like, what? We're just gonna hide in the attic? That plan sucks. I'm not doing that. Oh, there's a special contingency plan. What is that plan?
Uh
That
huh.
mistrust,
Yeah.
especially from like the only like person of color in this entire movie, is like, wait, what?
Uh huh.
Where does that leave us?
Yeah. And Spider's instincts are right. And then Bert says, "Listen, do y'all hear something?" And we
I
just
know
hear the
it's like,
classic whistle sound of a falling bomb.
I love it. Which makes no sense because they're in the basement, but
But
whatever.
whatever. And we cut to the attic just as Freddy is like bursting up to grab the
Yes.
other two in the attic. And then we see the skyline of Louisville and a mushroom cloud. This is kind of cool because the explosion is really specific. It's at a distance.
Yes.
It doesn't overwhelm the city. It's
It's
like
not like, yeah.
it's a certain part of the city, but in the foreground of this super wide shot, you do see some like roofs and windows kind of shatter from the um, what do you call that? The
Yeah,
bomb,
from like
the
yeah,
concussion
the like the
blast.
wind. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is some of the best like we're gonna set up for a sequel kind of business of like how to end a movie
Hmm.
because then you've got Colonel Glover's like, oh, looks like we've achieved detonation. It's only 20 acres or whatever. So like we've not taken out all of Louisville, but like we've taken out the containment area.
Uh huh.
They're like, oh no, no, honestly, it'll all burn off. It's the rain. The rain will wash everything away.
Yeah, because he
So
says, yeah, sorry, yeah, Louisville is on fire. So there's fires raging.
yeah,
The rain, don't worry about the fires, General. The rain will put them out. And we know that the fires are good and the rain is
yes.
bad.
Yes. And then the kicker is, well, the president is scheduled to visit Louisville tomorrow. I'm sure it'll be taken care of before he arrives. Zombie president.
So funny. So he also tells the general less than
Right.
4,000 dead. We did great.
Yeah.
Woof. And then the song "It's Party Time" plays over the credits.
Oh my God.
I think the only thing that disappointed me about this movie is the credits are a montage of scenes we've already seen.
I
I
know.
was thinking they were going to be outtakes.
Yeah, goofs. You want to see
Yes.
the goofs.
I wanted this to be more Cannonball Run during the credits.
Sure. And I think it because there is a quotability to this script. They're almost like saying, hey, these are the lines that are y'all are going to want to repeat to your friends after seeing this movie, just so you can remember them.
Yeah,
Like there
totally.
is a kind of like cult moviness about it,
Hmm.
which I don't hate,
No,
but I
I
do
don't
agree.
either.
I was like, I think it would be better if we'd seen like outtakes.
And I didn't dislike it. I just was a little disappointed.
Sure.
Well, the end. Shall we rate this film?
Yes, let's.
Let's start with approachability. Our scale for the horror averse scale of 1 to 10 being 1 is not at all approachable if you're horror squeamish, 10 being super approachable for the horror averse. Like, I'm going to give the Return of the Living Dead 6 out of 10 zombie cops. Because, okay, like you said earlier, the special effects are really good. It's also, and when it's gory, it is graphic, but it's also cartoonishly so, and also in that clever low budget way wherein almost none of the time is there blood and gore.
Yeah.
And when there is, it's not splattery. It's just a still shot of gooey bright red brains
Yeah. And
coming
someone doing
out of a
like nom nom
head.
nom nom nom
Yeah.
no on the floor.
It's a little haunted housey in the style in which it's presented. So I don't think it's nearly as gory, or I don't think the gore is upsetting. In fact, like Night of the Living Dead, which isn't even in color and only has really, I think, the one scene of people like eating innards.
Yeah.
That scene is super gross because it is
Yeah.
people actively like putting slimy organs up into their mouths. Um, some good jump scares, things like that. But ultimately, I think this feels way more comedy than anything else, although it does hit hard. So let's say 6 out of 10 zombie cops for approachability. To speak nothing of approachability, Cecil, how do you rate this as a horror film?
As a horror film, this one's great. I mean, I would say this takes, it's the third prong of the zombie three prong. Of the Dead is kind of the serious like
Uh-huh.
default, like fall of society. Um, the Danny Boyle 28 Days Later sort of now soon to be trilogy is going to be the like that, but on a larger technology scale. And then this is the like, yeah, zombies can be kind of fun,
Yeah.
cheeky
Hmm.
with actual cheeks.
With actual cheeks.
So for that reason, I don't know. 8 out of 10 split dogs.
Perfect. Let's figure out what movie we're going to watch next. You have a scare die. I have a style die. We'll roll those two dice up and see what movie matches those two things. So, Cecil, on your scare die, if you roll a 1, our next movie's scare is technology. 2, wild card. 3, normal people. 4, mother nature. 5, haunted. Or 6, let's eat.
That's a 6.
Let's eat. That is the. It's a horror movie where the scare is something to do with eating things. Could be cannibals. Could be.
Could
I
be.
mean, Return of the Living Dead kind of has a let's
Absolutely.
eat quality to it. But we'll see. So style, I'm gonna match let's eat with this style. If I roll a 1, the next movie's got to be black and white. If I roll a 2, it's got to be a procedural film. If I roll a 3, it's got to be something with a horror icon in it. This is a new one from Weaponized Toaster from our Patreon and Letterboxd suggested this. So basically, a movie that has an actor or director that is considered a horror icon in the genre of horror making. 4, campy movie. 5, 1980s. Or 6, the EU. Let's see what we got here. I got a 3. Oh, we already landed horror icon. I got a 3.
Okay, here we go.
So Let's Eat meets horror icon. We wrote down a few thoughts of movies that would fit this, but also we have our Letterboxd account. We're at Random Horror 9 there, and you can check out our lists and leave comments for movies you think would be good for each of these possible pairings. So on our list, started with a few here. The Hills Have Eyes,
Oh
horror
yeah,
icon Wes Craven.
absolutely.
That's cannibal eating.
Who doesn't? Yeah,
Yeah.
some cannibal family living out in the American desert.
Speaking of cannibal family, but living in the central corridor of Texas,
Yeah.
we have Toby Hooper's Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Oh yeah, which is like, I mean, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1 is horrifying. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is, hey, what if that, but 80s.
I still have never seen part 2, so I'm interested to see it. Does this have? Are they like going? Is it the victims in the movie are going to like the Texas OU game in Dallas or something like
That's
that?
exactly it. Yeah.
Okay, great. Do the Leatherface family make it to the game?
Well, they're making barbecue. They're doing like a backyard barbecue.
Oh, so funny. I also wrote Poultrygeist, which is a Lloyd
Yes.
Kaufman joint. Lloyd Kaufman of Troma Films.
Like it's been a long time since we've done a trauma.
Yeah. Peter Jackson horror icon. Bad Taste.
Now, I'm not going to lie, Jeffrey.
Uh-huh.
I have only ever made it through 15 minutes of this film.
Oh. Why did you only make 15 minutes through this film?
Um, it's a film that has bad taste, and you really have to prepare yourself for that.
Uh-huh. Okay. We have Tim Burton's Sweeney Todd.
Yeah, I put that on there. I mean, I'm not like super excited to watch Tim Burton's Sweeney Todd again, but
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? It's horror, like definitely horror icons.
Yeah.
In Johnny Depp, uh, they certainly eat people.
Uh-huh. Very true.
Meat pies, lots of meat pies.
We also have on this list, I think you put this on there, Soylent Green. Just an
Yeah, I think
iconic horror film.
yes, like horror sci-fi. I
Uh-huh.
think it's like the reason I think it's like that line, the like it's people, it's made of people so iconic.
Yeah. Interesting.
And also, I don't think I've ever seen it.
No, I haven't either. I
This
do
is like my
think,
dad's era of sci-fi.
yeah, and I do think this, I can't remember. I don't have it in front of me. Because I think Weaponized Toaster was suggesting it's not necessarily an iconic film. It
Okay.
features a person who is a horror
Okay.
icon.
I was
So
going more
this,
for the line is iconic.
oh, the line is iconic. Yeah, that is true. That is true. I mean, Charlton Heston was in many ways a horrific person. So in that
Sure.
ways, he was an icon
A
of horror.
horrible icon. That's a
Yep.
horrible icon.
Okay, that's what we came up with, but let's see what folks on Letterboxd had to say. Hold on just a second. Let me pull up this list here. All right, what do people say on Letterboxd, Cecil?
Bugava
Hell yeah.
recommends Mulholland Drive, David Lynch as the icon he is, for the espresso scene.
Oh, the best. The
Amazing.
best. Yes.
I Paradise. I think it's I Paradise, not L Paradise.
Oh, okay.
I Paradise recommends Eating Raoul from 1982. Very, very dark comedy. I remember when this came out. I think I watched this and I definitely was like way too young to watch this.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I'm seeing the like horror iconoclast of it,
Yeah.
but okay, all right.
Uh-huh.
Definitely got the Let's Eat vibe.
Yeah.
Fifth Hammer recommends Spider Baby from 1967, horror icon Lon Chaney Jr.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
I didn't realize he was in this. I mean, we've flirted around this movie quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I've never seen it, and I don't know too much about it, but apparently, in a dilapidated rural mansion, the last generation of a degenerate inbred Mary family lives
Uh-huh.
with the inherited curse of a disease that causes them to mentally regress as they physically develop.
Yeah.
We're going to get a lot of inbred families, aren't we? In this,
I mean, it's hard with the Let's Eat thing.
yeah, like,
Also, I want to note Let's Eat, first time ever on our list,
yeah,
and Horror Icon, first ever on. This is the first like matchup of two things that are brand new since
yeah.
maybe like the first dozen episodes of this show.
Listen,
Okay. Yeah.
sometimes it just happens that way.
Yeah. It's good times.
Suspicious Beans recommends Deathline, aka Raw Meat,
Mm-hmm.
from 1972. Donald Pleasance is the icon. Snaps the Donald Pleasance. We fucking
Yes.
love Donald Pleasance on this show. People are disappearing in the London Tube! Exclamation point. Scotland Yard sends Donald Pleasance to investigate, and he finds an entirely unknown human settlement.
Okay.
Love that. And also, Suspicious Beans recommends Eaten Alive from 1976. Toby Hooper and Robert Englund. I've never even
Whoa.
heard of this film. A quote rustic gentleman. Oh my God, there's so many inbred families in this list.
Okay.
Owns a
Amazing.
dilapidated hotel in the swamps of Louisiana. When people annoy him, he has his pet crocodile take care of them. The poster is a sight to see. And name's Buck, and I'm raring to fuck is Robert Englund's first line.
Okay. All right.
Snaps
I
all
might be
around.
swayed here. Yeah.
Snaps all around. Monstrom recommends Renfield from 2023, saying Nick Cage, horror icon. Absolutely. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree with you there.
totally.
Sarah Kendall says Peter Cushing. If Peter Cushing meets your icon criteria, they submit Island of Terror from 1966. Indestructible, self replicating bone vampire turtle things. They'll
Okay.
eat your bones. I love it. It's been a while since we've had a like Hammer horror
That's
era
true.
on the show as well. Cronenberg TA seconds The Hills Have Eyes, Wes Craven. Philip F. Says horror icon Roger Corman directed the original Little Shop of Horrors about a schnook who discovers that he needs to feed a very particular diet to the strange plant he's been growing. Bonus cameo appearance by Jack Nicholson. Also, I would say horror icon for his role in The Shining
Yeah.
and Witches of Eastwick. Sure.
Yeah.
Samson Ceramic says if Anthony Hopkins counts as a horror icon, Silence of the Lambs, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, iconic role, iconic character, iconic movie, and
Okay.
definitely
Yeah.
I will eat this movie with a nice Chianti.
Mm-hmm.
Weaponized Toaster, Seconds Bad Taste. Also recommends the 2013 remake of Green Inferno, directed by Eli Roth. Absolutely, horror icon, Eli
Totally.
Roth. A young woman joins an activist group that goes on an overseas trip where they eventually run into a cannibalistic tribe.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I
They're like,
forgot
we're
about Green
only trying to
Inferno.
help. Why are they eating us? And The Stuff from 1985, directed by Larry Cohen. A private detective investigates a new consumer taste treat that's absolutely delicious and possibly lethal.
Oh,
So Larry Cohen,
interesting.
yeah, absolutely one of my favorite one of my favorite horror movies as well.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely fits the let's eat category. Cat in Seas suggests Crimes of the Future, the horror icon being David
Of
Cronenberg.
course.
An artist named Tensor with accelerated evolution syndrome
Mm-hmm. I
grows
take
new
vitamin D for
organs.
that. Yeah.
I listen, I take a strict D10 to accelerate my organs
Evolution.
in my evolution. So grows new organs inside his body, but his partner does avant-garde performances surgically removing them. The police ask Tensor to infiltrate a group of radical evolutionists. Oh my God, it's not a David Cronenberg movie unless there's
No.
radical evolutionists, right? That have chosen to modify their digestive system to make them able to eat plastics and other synthetic chemicals. Their principal food is a bar of toxic waste, fatally poisonous to others.
I had
Oh,
never
David
actually
Cronenberg.
looked into what this story of this movie
I
was
yeah,
about, but
I don't
that's
like. I think I'd heard the
fascinating.
title, and that's it.
Yeah.
That sounds like the most David Cronenberg you can
Mm-hmm.
possibly get. And finally, Beloved of ISIS
Mm-hmm.
recommends Bad Taste.
Of course. Yeah. Um, what is speaking to you, Cecil? Do you want to try and get back into Bad Taste, a movie that was tough to make it through? Do you
Here's the
want
thing.
to do
Oh,
Poultrygeist? We haven't done Trauma in
I
forever.
know.
The Hills
Okay.
Have Eyes is a Wes Craven
Fine. We haven't, it's
classic.
been a minute since we've had Wes Craven. The Hills Have Eyes is like, I mean, it's of that era where it's like, I think a lot of these movies might be considered a hard watch
Yep.
because they're going to be like really like raw. Like
Yes.
this is the fuck your feelings corridor of filmmaking.
Yeah.
So,
Weaponized
I'm
Toaster gave us Green Inferno, which looks like a hard
yeah,
watch. I haven't seen it.
yeah.
Spider Baby,
Um,
Fifth Hammer gave us that.
I know I'm really curious about Spider Baby. I'm Suspicious Beings recommending Deathline with Donald Pleasance just because I love we love a procedural on the show. We still have
Hmm.
procedural. Donald Pleasance, love Donald Pleasance.
They
Here's
also
the thing
gave
though.
us Suspicious Beings also gave us Eaten
Oh,
Alive
Eaten
with
Alive. I think
Toby
that's going to
Hooper and
be
Robert Englund.
outrageous, funny,
Uh,
big, broad character. But it's like Toby Hooper and
hmm.
Robert Englund.
Yeah.
I am wondering if the category is Let's Eat.
Uh-huh.
I'm awful curious about bad taste.
Because aren't the aliens making like human meat pie sort of
That's it.
things? Or,
That's like for
yeah,
like an intergalactic fast food.
yeah. Actually, Beloved of Isis in the letterbox says gives us the description: a team from the intergalactic fast food chain Crumbs Crunchy Delights descends on Earth, planning to make human flesh the newest taste sensation.
Oh man, are we on like a? I think we're on like a horror comedy kick.
Yeah, and this really fits because it's not cannibal, and I think
Yeah,
while cannibal is totally acceptable here for
absolutely.
Let's Eat, I think the spirit of Let's Eat is trying to find where food is the gross out.
Yeah, and I think we might get that in
I feel
in
like with
bad
Peter
taste.
Jackson, you're gonna get the gross out.
I mean, like there's some. I mean, that's the thing is like with the horror icon category, there's so many heavy hitters.
Yeah,
Like Anthony Hopkins, Silence of the Lambs, Wes Craven, Peter Cushing, Donald
yeah,
Pleasance, Robert Englund, Toby Hooper. Like it's really an embarrassment of riches.
yeah.
But for some reason, my heart is drawing me to bad taste.
Well, and it's hard not to think of Peter Jackson as a horror icon because of his. This is among his first movies, Dead
Yeah, it's among
Alive,
his
and
first movies. Like,
yeah,
I mean, Dead Alive is like amazing. The Frighteners.
uh,
Honestly, the fact that he took Lord of the Rings is like, hey, what if this, but we're actually going to like make it a little bit scary as well, as opposed to just sort of fantasy. God
yeah.
bless him.
Sounds like we are leaning toward, uh, having a brunch date and watching this movie over
Absolutely.
mimosas and French toast.
Yes.
It is available for rental online, so that's good to know. So, how about it? We think that's good?
Bad taste.
Bad taste. All right. Well, thank you all for listening. Thank you, Cecil, for talking with me. And if you have thoughts on The Return of the Living Dead or ideas for other movies that would have been good, Let's Eat meets Horror Icon, let us know on Instagram or on Patreon at Random Horror 9. Those Patreon discussion threads are open to the public. You just have to be a free member to participate in those. And watch Bad Taste 1987 with us this weekend. Come on back next Tuesday for a new episode. Have a restful night with no naked zombie ladies biting your neck or nothing. Boo.
Let's party.